The story of Resident Evil 3 follows Jill Valentine and her escape from Raccoon City while being stalked by a Giga Chad named Nemesis, who just wants to smell her armpits. Thankfully, she put on deodorant. In the remake, the main story is still the same, following Jill's escape and run-ins with her stalker. A few things have changed, however. For example, the clock tower isn't an actual area anymore, and the park is gone too. There are no more choices to change the story in little ways, and there are no multiple endings. Carlos does have a bigger role in the story, and Brad has, less? I'm pretty sure they said that he was going to play a bigger role, but I heard like 4 lines from that dude, and then he died. He's not even killed by Nemesis anymore. Some other characters are changed or lessened in the story, mostly for the worse. Dario Rosso, the main character, not the main character, that would be fucking cool. Dario Rosso, the man in the beginning of the original who was hiding in a shipping container, is now a completely different character. He had just lost his mother, daughter, and wife to the infection and was completely broken in the original. Jill attempted to help him, but he locks himself in the container, claiming he'd rather starve to death in here than be eaten by one of those undead monsters. But in the remake, he's just a huge dick. And I'm not even exaggerating, he's just a huge prick for no reason. Jill tries to tell him that there's a helicopter boat waiting to take them out of the city, but he just says,
"It's Dario Rosso. And yeah, right. You just want to steal my safe house."
Like, what are you gonna do, beating the hide-and-seek champion? Osama Bin Laden got you beat, dude. One of the cooler parts of the story changes was how, at the start, you can explore Jill's apartment. In the original, after a short cutscene, you're blown immediately out of the building like a Michael Bay film and thrust into the action. In the remake, however, you wake up from the bed and you're able to look around Jill's apartment. You can look into her fridge and, read her notes, kind of fuck up with her privacy things, and you sort of get a feel for how she is following the events of Resident Evil 1. There's even a note that says kind of how she feels she's doing after the whole Resident Evil 1 event.
Too close. You were almost a Jill sandwich.
That she doesn't think she's infected, but she keeps having nightmares, which I thought was pretty good. Both of these intros are good in their own way, but the remake lets you do some exploring and world building, which is something I've always enjoyed in Resident Evil games, and I feel they could do a lot more. As soon as you're done exploring the apartment, this bitch goes from 0 to 100 real quick, and you're attacked by Nemesis, and you are trying your hardest to escape the apartment complex from him. Speaking of Nemesis, the one time he actually chases you unscripted is exhilarating, and what the game should be like. If you're hoping he chases and stalks you down like in the original game, I'm sorry man, you're gonna be more disappointed than my dad is with my life, and that's pretty damn disappointing. He does it once, like actually, like not even just playing this up, like only once throughout the entire game, and it's in the first 40 minutes. It only lasts about 3 minutes, and after that he's just a scripted prop. And you'll never see him again until the game says, "Time for a chase, bitch." In this remake, he uses different weapons than his OG rocket launcher, and by that, I mean he uses the flamethrower once, and then he switches to his launcher, and then finally switches to his second form. One thing to note is that his original second form, the one where he loses his shirt and had tentacles coming out of his body, yeah, that's cut. That's gone. Absent. Disappeared. Thanos snapped. Whatever you want to call it, it's gone. His third form is not his second form. Not only that, but his second form is a dog? Like, what the fuck? I should be scared of him, not wanting a plushie of him. He's more cute than scary, and his final form is pretty much the same as the original. More or less. One thing to note is that he rarely says his catchphrase, "Stars." He said it once or twice, but I hardly remember him talking after that. And he doesn't have his own special music anymore. Now if there's anything, it's generic, ooh, spooky boss music! Also, there's not really any chance for you to fight him on your terms and get upgrades like in the original. Basically, Nemesis is disappointing and just a shell of what made it scary in the first place. First things first, all the characters look pretty damn good. Jill loses her skirt and trades up for pants. Jill's also a lot snarkier and sassier. You go, girl.
Bitch can't even swim.
Overall, I feel Jill's character is pretty damn good compared to the original. She's still the same person, and I'm very impressed with how she was. Too bad she doesn't say her one golden line.
You want stars? I'll give you stars.
Carlos goes from dorky nerd... Alright, I guess we're doing Skyrim now. Carlos goes from dorky nerd to fighting game character Miguel Caballero Rojo.
Miguel.
And fuck me if he isn't sexy. I let him punch me in the chest, and there is no innuendo there. If that nigga wants to punch me in the chest, go ahead. Miguel is a lot more likable than Remake. A lot nicer to Jill, too. He even helps her out a lot more. Jill x Carlos Perez still have to compete against Chris x Jill shippers, though, but this might add a little more tinge to the fire. Fuck me, he's hot. Damn, that's not even part of the script. Like, he's actually fucking hot. Brad looks the same. I actually think they didn't change a single thing on him. Poor guy, literally got less screen time and no changes. He doesn't get tentacle porn through his mouth anymore. Instead, he just gets bitten. Bitch isn't even immune. Mikhail, Nikolai, and the one dude who got shot in the head immediately all look the same, just in HD. And my boy Dario Rosso isn't even a character anymore. We've already talked about this. I don't even remember why I wrote this part. He's just a throwaway character in the beginning, and the only real citizen you see that has any dialogue. And it's just him being a dick. And yes, I'm still mad. Now for the reason you clicked on this video. The gameplay review. Either that, or you just misclicked off a Fortnite video. Go ahead. I won't judge. I don't even know if I should put that part in. I'm gonna do it anyway, but you can cut it out, DJ. Gameplay from the remake is nearly identical to that of the Resident Evil 2 remake. Over-the-shoulder shooter with an emphasis on conserving ammo and horror. The big main difference is that in Resident Evil 2 Remake, there's much more limited ammo than in the Nemesis remake. As Resident Evil 3 is a bigger emphasis on action rather than horror, there's more ammo and healing items and less puzzles. I played on the hardest difficulty and had enough ammo for any situation with a few bullets left over to take the easy way out. Perhaps the biggest change between 2 and 3 is the fact that you can do a dodge roll now. If you hit space at the right time of the attack, you will roll out of the way and enter a slow-mo and get a few free hits on the enemy. I really like the fact that the dodge roll is now mapped to a button as opposed to how it was in the original. In the original, you had to aim and use the same button as shooting, and if you mistimed it, you would just shoot your gun. Basically, if the stars aren't aligned and the Haley Comet hasn't passed in the last 2 years, you're not going to be able to do it, unless you're a fucking Jedi. What I don't like is the fact that everything enters slow-mo. On the harder difficulties, I really don't think it was needed. Maybe on the easier ones, but I didn't like the slow-mo part. Oh yeah, and Carlos doesn't dodge, he just punches the hell out of the nearest enemy in the chest. Zombies in 3 seem to die quicker and don't take as many bullets as in 2. About 7 bullets in the head takes out a shambler as opposed to the 7 magazines in 2. To make up for this, there's a shit ton more zombies in the area, so there's a chance you're gonna get swarmed and die. Speaking of dying, they uncensored death scenes. Now you get to see deaths instead of that weird strobe light effect they had in 2. So you can watch Jill's neck jerky get pulled out of her, you know, if you're into that sort of thing, huh? They even added certain deaths if certain conditions are met. For example, if you become zombie chow when 2 zombies are around, then they both overpower you and eat you alive. Neat! Also, there's no more fucking ink ribbons, which I'm pretty pissed about, and I'm not kidding. I like the ink ribbons in Resident Evil 2. I was glad they were relegated to a harder difficulty so other people didn't have to fuck with them. But like, what's the point? I could just take out a zombie, save, and come back. This isn't even on script anymore. Now I'm just pissed. Those bastards at Capcom didn't even think about putting it in the harder difficulties, which leads me to believe the game was much more rushed than it should have been. Fuckers. The good news is certain changes are for the better. Now when you pick up stuff you've already picked up, it's instant instead of you having to go through another menu. For example, if you picked up multiple green herbs in Resident Evil 2 Remake, when you picked each herb up, it would take you to the menu and let you know this is an herb because you're a retard. But in the new one, you just pick it up and you just get it automatically and you just go straight to your inventory. The knife is infinite now, which makes knife-only runs possible again. And crafting ammo is easier than in the original as there's no need for a reloading tool. It's sad to say, a lot of the stuff is cut from the game. Just to give you a quick rundown of what is cut from the game, here's just a small list that I just recognized. The clock tower is relegated to a small segment, more of a boss fight, and you never actually get to go inside. The park, and by extension, the gravedigger, are both cut from the game entirely. City Hall is gone, all spiders are gone, which is good for those afraid of spiders. Nemesis chasing you throughout the city is cut and instead given one tiny moment for its QuickTime events and scripted chases. Most of the puzzles are gone as well, which is kind of sad. Live selection choices, which I really liked in the original. You know, the parts where of the game where you get presented with multiple options to take, that's gone as well. Now you don't get a choice, just like a slave. So get back to work, bitch. In conclusion, if I had to describe this game in a few words, it'd be disappointed, And yes, I did need 3 of those to get my points across. It's still a phenomenal game and a good remake, but Capcom seemed to have rushed this out following the success of the Resident Evil 2 remake, and in doing so, they cut a lot of content and ideas that made the original stand on its own 2 legs. I played on the hardest difficulty and beat it in 5 hours. That for $60? There's no replayability after that, besides unlocking the extra weapons and harder game modes. All of this is done through beating the campaign and getting extra tokens and stuff, and using it in a shop to buy mostly just weapons and like weird tokens that like increase your health and stuff. But it's all in the shop. Capitalism wins again. Take that, commies. It does come packaged with Resident Evil Resistance, however, so if you're looking forward to that, it might be worth the $60, but it's probably a good idea to wait. It's a good remake, but not for the price, and it would have been better as a DLC for Resident Evil 2 rather than a standalone game with its current price. My best visual representation is that Capcom handed me a Resident Evil 2 DLC and claimed it as 3. The Resident Evil 3 remake gets 6 out of 10 stars.
You such pathetic man! See where you brought us to. Our ideals die around us, and all because of you. But that is cut of all. Someone had to turn you in.